Hey, oh, good morning, everybody. How are we doing today?
Good morning.
Oh,
Doing great.
Good morning.
What a beautiful fall day. How's the weather where you guys are at?
Mine feels
uh,
like fall.
it's very hot and humid here. So,
What? Where are you, Mim?
yeah, in Australia, so it's a bit far, I guess.
Wait, where are you?
Australia?
You keep messing with me. You keep telling me you're from a different place. You're in a different place every time I talk to you.
No,
No,
no, no. Like,
no. The first question was where are you from, not where
Oh,
are
okay.
you
All right.
at.
All
So
right.
I
okay.
got you, man. I know what he's talking about. So
Yeah. No, no. I'm Algerian, but yeah, I live
Okay.
in Australia. Yep.
But you're in Australia.
Yes,
Okay.
and it's
All right.
hot, very hot.
And it's hot. Okay. All
Yes.
right. Okay. Good to see you. Good to see you. And great, Kevin. Welcome back. How the heck are you,
well,
man?
thanks. I'm doing great, man. So yeah, it's been quite the journey since you started on your house changing over. I started on like going to different places in the world and not being able to make it back. So I think I would have had like 1 week I could have potentially made it, but it just was kind of nah. We'll take a break for a bit. So, but I've looked in periodically. Things are going well, and your new studio looks great. I see Dax is in the background there.
Oh yeah, he's loving the new place. He's figured out let's go to work means coming into this room and stuff. So
My dog
he's
does
Oh,
loving
that
it.
a lot too. So,
Yeah, yeah, it's great. And
Christina, where are you today?
yes,
I'm in Seattle, so was on site this week with some awesome people. So I was actually
That's
I was a little bit sad because it filled the one gap in my schedule where I was going to be home, but it's turned out to be amazing. So really enjoyed it, and it's been a lot of fun. So I get to fly home today, and then fly out to LA next or tomorrow. So
as long as
be
TSA is working.
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Or the flight or the flight the controllers, that's the other ones calling in sick lately.
Well, I
Really, I
finally
had
got
no
pre-check,
idea.
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
Yeah, it's part of
officially.
the
Yeah.
Uh,
government stuff.
Some of that is starting
Oh,
up. So
yeah. Well, have fun with that. And Jared, you're doing well.
Oh yeah, as I try to say nowadays, nothing going on. This is my quiet time of the fall before November hits, and then I'll be taking a play out of Christina's book, starting to travel everywhere.
good.
Oh, how
nice. Where will
exciting!
you be in November?
Let's see. First week I'll be out in Dallas for TechCon 365.
Okay.
Uh,
Fun.
to talk about some fun fabric and some sequel stuff. So that'll be a fun opportunity there. And then late November, well, I think Christina will be out there too for Past Summit, talking about
Yeah.
PySpark. Woo!
Are you going to the Portland, Vancouver Sequel Saturday before?
I didn't know that was a thing, so probably not.
No worries. Next year we'll get you there on the sequel train. It'll be fun.
Cool. I
Oh,
like trains.
fantastic. Well, hey, Mim, this is your first time on the show. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes. Okay. First, this is first time I do a live stream, so that's very interesting, to say the least. It's very stressful. Okay, so it'd be nice. Yeah. Yeah. So my name is Mimon Juala, but people find it hard to pronounce, so you can just call me Mim. And yeah, I work for Microsoft Fabric team since 2 years, and my interests are mainly self-service and small data. So I'm like my background is business user, so I'm not an IT, so I have some strong opinion about self-service. Yeah, that's it.
Well,
Nice.
that's fantastic. I'll let everyone know. I used to spend a lot of time performance testing, seeing what works, what didn't work. Because I'd often find like Microsoft will roll out and say, "Hey, these things are fantastic," and you go like, Well, yeah, but only if you do these things, right? And yet, like, so I'd spend a lot of time doing performance tests, and then all of a sudden, you started blogging, and your performance tests were like 10 times better than mine. I'm like, well, I guess I'm done doing this. I'll just wait till Mim writes an article and does his performance test. How did you get into doing such incredible performance tests?
Yes, basically what happened is like 5 years ago, like all I knew is Power BI and Power Query. I was very happy and everything was perfect.
Mm-hmm.
But one day the PM decided to, like, he wants specific project.
Yeah.
At that time, like I was working in construction, and the data was relatively complex. Like he wants to see the data like every 5 minutes. And for me, that was a bit of a shock because I realized that there's like Power Query cannot. This is like 5 years ago. Now we have Data Flow Gen 2, which is another story. But at the time, I know it may sound funny. I realized that Power Query cannot do everything.
Yep.
And I was terrified because like for years I was happy with just Power BI and Power Query, and then I started genuinely playing around with tools. The problem I found is that it's extremely hard to find an independent reviews. Like everyone has his own agenda. So I started just like playing around, and I think that's interesting because sometimes like ignorance is like a bliss. Like I didn't know anything. So I would just like playing around with tools and see where thing works, where thing doesn't work. But I think I had like a bias, and I still have this bias, is the less friction. So I love like tools that they are easy to use. And sometimes I've done silly thing because I tested some product, they're extremely powerful, but they expect you to prepare for it. And I had some like really negative reaction, and now like I regret it. But in a sense, that was like my honest that was basically my honest experience. Like the first experience is very important.
Right.
So that's why I got into like testing.
Well,
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, I think that makes a lot of sense, and I think that's testing is a valid part and should be part of everyone's build experience, right? You don't want to just like, hey, throw this stuff together, and it runs well on my desktop. You want to actually go in and test these things out. So today in the live stream, we're going to be delving deep into that side of the house. I want to call out Heidi, who has joined the chat. Hey, Heidi. Heidi's actually going to be our guest next week. So we're going to be talking about security with Heidi next week. So
Yes,
excited to see you here. If you like this conversation about performance testing, make sure you join us next week when Heidi's on and we talk about security that goes hand in hand with performance testing. So
yeah, Heidi is sweet. Like I think like last year, and someone asked about some, like when you do some like stuff for the government and you need some certification, and he just throws some FP whatever, and actually no one knew anything, and Heidi somehow, apparently she's not allowed to talk about this stuff, but somehow she knew, and she explained about this is physical, like if you can't touch the server. I thought, okay, anyway, yeah, just
Interesting.
a background, yeah.
Yeah.
But kind of back to your point, right? And kind of grabbing tools, right? In the first experience. I think that's a very important point, right? Is I can't tell you how many tools that I picked up and just going, okay, all I want to get to is, like you said, just a little bit of the demo that they showed and kind of test it out. And then you're going, well, wait a minute, I got to install this too, or I got to set this up, or I got to change that, or, yeah, I could do all that if I put it on a VM or I did that. And there's so many tools that I've just picked up and dropped because of that, So
Right.
And we were talking a little bit about that in the beginning too, right? I think from Fabric a lot of friction has been removed, but there's still some friction and getting some things there at times and getting started with it. So
Well, the AI can't take over everything as of yet, right? Like we still need to do some things here. So
I still want the AI to vacuum for me.
what do you
No,
mean?
I
You
know,
don't
I know
have
that's not.
you don't have a Roomba? My AI vacuum has been vacuuming for like a decade. That thing is
We got a bad one. The battery died rather quickly.
oh
So
really?
yeah.
Oh, our
Yeah, speaking of AI, I know that's not the topic, but some field where like AI really made the massive change. Like I'm not talking about potential change. Like there is a lot of
Mhm.
stuff where we say potential is writing code.
Yeah.
Actually, it
Yep.
does work.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
if you told me just a month ago that I can publish a package, like yesterday, I spent a lot of time doing tests. If someone told me that you will be just doing tests, then I would say, no, this doesn't make sense. And now, like, you can just use, like, I use VS Code, and literally, I don't know, to be totally honest, I don't know how the code works, but as long as I run the test, I know the input and I know the output. And I think I'm happy with that. I
Yeah.
like, I don't know how a car works really, but I just
Mhm.
drive just fine.
Mm-hmm.
That is a
So
great
are you
analogy for it.
Yeah. I like
Yeah.
that a
Yeah.
lot.
Are you using a lot more of the AI and like the Copilot Studio or Copilot in Visual Code to help you get to these performance tests that you're doing?
And no, I use it for writing ETL,
Okay.
so writing
Mm.
code, and I think it's awesome because what happened is I've been playing with LLMs for the last 2 years, and they weren't really smart. If 2 years ago they were rather
Hmm.
dumb, like stupid, to be honest. But the recent model, they're really good, and they know the syntax really well, so they are useful. Like you can literally say, just writing this Python code that take a beam file and generate semantic model. I can do it myself, but then I will spend weeks trying to understand Fabric, API, REST, whatever. But now it's written by, I use like Claude with VS
Hmm.
Code. And
Mm.
the beauty is it doesn't like, even if it doesn't at first time, what you do is you ask, it give you code, you run it, it give you the error, and you feed back the error, and the second like or the third you get working code, and it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I'm continuously amazed at the stuff that comes out. I mean, I said a couple weeks, like 2 weeks ago, I used, I just used Copilot to generate some Python script. And like, I don't know Python, but it does. And I knew what I had, I knew what I wanted it to look like. And I
Yep.
said, hey, give me the Python that will transform this data to this. And it did that on the first go. And it actually saw something that I should have in the transformation that I hadn't even thought of, and it
Whoa.
added that in. I'm like, oh,
Yep.
I like this
Hmm.
better than what I would have written if I like. This is the version of code that would be the next version of code because I would have,
That
you know,
right
uh,
after you ran it like
after I
5 times.
implemented it, I
Yeah.
would have been like, oh, I
Oh, I
need to
should
have
have.
this too, right? Like that.
Hmm.
That was awesome. So.
Yeah.
But I think one of the reasons why I reached out to you, Mim, is I saw a recent article where you were talking about performance management on One Lake. And I think that really
Yep.
ties into where you were leading about like how things should just work out of the box, but maybe they don't always. Do you want to summarize or you want to tell us about your article?
Yes. So basically, I'll give you example. Like when I start using Power BI, I didn't even know what is a primary key and foreign key, but I generated useful report. because people paid me like to do those reports. So probably they find the value. And for me, it's always that. For me, that's the reference, is that you don't need to know stuff. Obviously, later I knew it's foreign key and what's like row level format and columnar format and all this stuff. So, for example, in Direct Lake, like it works like virtually the same performance as as import, but the trick is like your Parquet like layout needs to be good. So the like Power BI likes large row groups. Like usually that depends. There is no, but usually like from 8 to 6 or from something like that, millions. So the thing is, like you get some people, they try, and the assumption is usually it's not a problem because if the Parquet or let's say Delta is produced inside Fabric, so everyone is happy. But now there is like a lot of, it's becoming like more use cases where people are reading Parquet produced by outside Fabric. So I know someone who's using, who's reading Iceberg from BigQuery, and he was genuinely like surprised how it just worked. But like what he didn't know is that the trick with Parquet, it's any reader or writer can more or less write the same thing. But the trick is there is no standard for the size of the row group. Some engine like to write smaller row groups, some engine write massive row groups. So there was like, it was like a learning experience for him to know like you need to optimize how you write your Parquet, or at least you need to be aware. So if you see the performance is not as good as you expect, at least you understand that you need to work on your layout. The second part is a small file problem. And this is not specific to Power BI. Like all app engines don't like small files. That's like, it's not like about this, like a general rule. So you try, like you need to compact your files. So, and this one, for a lot of users, actually, it's not obvious.
Right. Like I wouldn't even know if I'm building out a gold layer lake house, I wouldn't even know how to optimize that for file size. Like I've never even thought about it. Do you right click, say optimize file size? What do you do?
No, but in general, you don't, like if you use like Fabric Spark, it's by default it's optimizing, and it generates the order. Like if you use data warehouse, then it's by default you have like optimized Parquet file. The issue is mainly if either you read the data from an external source, which is like becoming a big common scenario, or you don't run, as you said, you don't run optimize, because currently I don't think optimize is on by default. So you need to, as you said, you need to click and run optimize.
Right. Yeah. Optimize on the lakehouse is not there by default. So you have to put that in as a maintenance job. But on the data warehouse, it is, right?
Yes.
I don't know how good, I haven't looked to see how good they do, but my assumption is they do pretty well because
no, they do, because they said this is basically the expectation. Like for data warehouse, you expect that everything is
just
like
handled.
Handled. That's
yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. So one of my big differentiators in Lakehouse is I get hands-on control over it, which means I can define it however I want to, but then I also take on the burden of having to define all of the components. Whereas in the warehouse, I give up some of that control, but I gain automatic optimization across a number of different aspects. Am I saying that right, Mim?
No, absolutely. Yeah. And then, so I don't want to get trouble with our Spark friend. Spark do optimize, but you need to click optimize. That's
there's more options that you have to set up. To your point of like a business user might not even know that exists to do it.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
And
that's very
that's really about the only one, right? Because like you said, the V order by default is turned on. So if you're writing through, the Fabric Spark notebooks, you're going to be mostly optimized, except for running that optimized command to shrink the files periodically. I think that's been my experience.
Yeah. No. The one cool thing about Fabric Spark is that they have this optimized write. So the vanilla Spark, when I say vanilla, is like the full open source thing. By default, if you have like a lot of small file, it will just write. If let's say if you ingest every, let's say 5 minutes, then every time you get small file. But for Fabric, like when you write in Spark, it will make sure that the file size and the row group are good for Power BI. So that's like a solved problem. Like what we noticed, the main issue is especially people using Parquet from
outside sources.
Outside sources, which is, by the way, that's good. Actually, we like that. That's the whole point. Like you want people to read. It's nice. It's nice to be aware that not all Parquet are equal. And
So okay, so let me frame this up in something that I've been thinking about lately.
Yep.
Let's say I'm an enterprise that's been running on Databricks for the last decade, right? We've got 10 years of code and development and process and automations running on Databricks. We're serving up our organization, all of this data and content. But I've got a problem because when I look at my self-service, I realize that a lot of people are still extracting all of my data out of Databricks into Power BI in import mode, or they're extracting it out because performance is an issue. What can I do to optimize my Databricks platform or my data that I have? And let's say it's Databricks or Snowflake or wherever it is, to make it more consumable as is where it is, so that the business users, the self-service people of the world, don't have to take additional steps.
Yeah, actually, speaking of Databricks, to be fair, like I think by default they have like good Parquet file, so that's not an issue. Like technically, you can just read if you want, like you can just read from the storage and it works. But other vendors, let's not go in detail. Like some other vendors, they like small size, and so that's not great. So in that case, by the way, that depends. So for example, if the data is used for the not gold, that used for the other one, what's called silver, or anyway, think in the middle, then it's fine, because like who cares? Power BI is only interested in the gold. So one approach you can do it is you can do like the what's called from, I forgot the name, like shortcut, and then you can do like shortcut to, let's say, vendor X, and just read the Parquet, which may or may not be great, and then do your transformation inside Fabric and then generate the gold. So that's and then the end user would just consume like a good gold there. So that's one approach. By the way, usually it's not like a problem. It's just sometimes the lack of awareness, because once you know that you need to have Parquet in certain shape, usually the solution is easy, because the most of Parquet producer, they have an option where you can customize the size of the file and the size of the row group, especially the row group. Yeah.
So what is the optimal row group for consumption?
Yeah, this is in general, it depends, but apparently,
in general,
like
everything depends. Let's
yes,
just say
it depends. Yeah, but like 4 million.
I was gonna say,
like
good thing we're not doing dollars today.
Yes, I like from 4 to 8. That's like a good number.
4 to 8 million.
Yes.
Okay.
That's like a good number. No,
All
but
right.
like when I will show it later is like I'm using a different producer and to produce like 1.5, and I'm getting 9 millisecond. So it's okay. Like it's not an issue. I'm saying like the optimal. But you can, but what I'm trying to say is don't put a row group with 5,000 row. That's bad.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's really bad. But if you have like 1 million or 2 million, like whatever, but just don't put like tiny row groups, because I've seen like in real life people using like very small row groups. So that's one will hurt performance.
Very
Well, that
very
makes
small
sense.
means under a million is what I'm hearing you say then.
No, like I've seen worse. Like I've seen row groups with 6,000 row.
Okay. So if you're in the thousands range, then you're probably really bad.
No,
Move
you're
up.
very bad, because there is
Yeah.
another aspect. It's just like from, let's say, money. So if you are using F2, which I'm a huge fan of F2, there is a limit of 1,000 row group.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you may try to say, okay, this is not work. No, it does work. It just, because sometimes like I've seen one Parquet file, let's say it's million row, the total number of rows, but the row group itself, it's let's say 128,000. So you end up with one file that have like 10 row groups. That's not good.
Okay.
And then if you have a lot and then you reach a limit and you say, no, F2 is not, no, it does work, but you need to be aware of those limitations.
I guess, yeah, because I don't think I realized that the row groups, the size of the row group is skew dependent.
Yeah, there is a limit
or the
of
max of it.
1,000. Yes,
Yeah.
there is, I think, a limit of 1,000 file for F2.
Oh, interesting.
Usually, yeah. People don't notice that because most of people are just like they use F32 or F64 but because I have an obsession with F2, I tend to notice this stuff.
And I love implementing on F2 for my small, solutions and everything as well. But I think the reason I didn't realize it is on most of those I do an import at the end, right? And then even move them onto like maybe a pro capacity, right? And just because it's so small, just let them use all the shared stuff and don't worry about what because I'm not using direct lake with it a whole lot. So I kind of avoid that problem, but that's why I don't think I realized that it could be a potential problem. Interesting.
Okay.
That is actually incredibly interesting. Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. Hey, Jason Campbell's got a question for you, Mim. They've started to talk about weekly maintenance pipeline to optimize V order, Z order over the daily incremental loads. They want to dig deeper into this. What are your thoughts on this?
There is, yeah, okay. That depends on the size of the. I hate IT. Everything is that depends, but there is only like one. Maybe one information is useful, like with Direct Lake. Recently, they added something called incremental framing, which is awesome. So the way it works is, especially for the case of, let's say you have a pipeline that add data every, let's say, 15 minutes. Before Direct Lake, if you add a file, it will just load everything every time. But now it's getting smarter and it will just load the delta. So if you have like let's say 10 files, and every time you add a new file, it will detect that there is only new file, and then it will just load that file and keep the rest in memory. And it's fantastic because like I've done experimentation where the files were added every 5 minutes, and there was no impact on performance. Because as you know, like if you have an engine, the worst thing is call performance.
Right.
And that's the law of physics. Like you cannot, like you try to optimize, but that like reading from remote storage is by design slow. That's compared to even to your disk or compared obviously to memory. Because if you put an order, if the data like fit your like CPU cache, that's like the super fast, and then later is in the RAM, that's like ideal. But if it's not in the RAM, then it's SSD. If it's not SSD, then it's remote storage. So you try not to touch remote storage. So
Sure.
cold cache is always problematic. So with incremental framing, basically you don't have to reach that match to the cold cache. So we just add the delta, and that's awesome. It in a sense it did solve partially the problem of small file, but there is a limit. You reach a point where you keep loading all those small file, and the engine will say, no, this is too much. Like, you need to optimize. So for me personally, this is just my use case. Because my data change every 5 minutes, I tend to run and optimize every 3 hours. Like, why you ask 3 hours? It just sounds good number. That's all. There is no. And I'm
You
happy
didn't
with it.
do any scientific research to figure out what the most optimal refresh.
No, because there is diminishing return. Before it was a problem, because before, without incremental framing, it was an issue, because if whenever I produce a file, it will rule out everything. But with incremental framing, like, basically they solved the problem. So I didn't really bother. And to be honest, I tried, but there was so much noise, and VertiPack is so fast. It's really, I got like the difference, like sometimes I get like 200 milliseconds and sometimes 230. Like, I'm not going to optimize for 30 milliseconds. So that's the reason yeah.
Yeah, it's less than half a second. It's okay.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, whatever. I'm not. Usually when you try to optimize, like when you have, like I tried once to optimize where like it didn't work with F2. So then I started saying why. Then I understood that it was, for me, it was insane. I took the same data and all I've done is make the row group bigger and then do sorting. And people don't talk much about that. The best thing you can do is just sort the data. And actually, when I put that, I put on Twitter, and there was a guy from Databricks, and he worked in performance, and he was so excited. He told me, like, finally someone like said the obvious thing. Just sorted data is the best data.
Yeah. Yep. I will say that for my first 10 years of working with the tabular engine, I sorted all my data before I loaded it, and I had 80% faster loads, and my models ran faster
Yes.
than when we pulled it off. And to this day, I've never seen anyone document or comment on that. That was like my own secret sauce. And I like asked Marco Russo about it, and he would kind of like go back and forth, and I couldn't get a straight answer out of him or any of the people. And it worked hands down on massive, like 240 gig models like that. Putting that sort order in radically improved performance on things, and I just never heard anyone talk about that.
Yeah, no, the reason I think people don't talk much about this, it's because usually you don't have like issue with performance with Power BI. Like the VertiPack is so optimized that like performance is not usually an issue. Like usually this kind of conversation you hear about them rather in data warehouse space, but not VertiPack. VertiPack is just insane.
Yeah, I think I discovered that because I came from the PDW Netezza space, where having your partitions and your distribute-ons were so critical to your performance of your, like, you have like petabytes of data that you're trying to query across, and if you don't have your distribution right, like, goodbye getting an answer within a half an hour or an hour. You're talking like running for days on end. And so that was just the world I came from. So when I started working with the tabular engine and Power BI, I natively went, well, the engines, we've got to optimize the storage order for the engine so that it runs right. And like I naturally discovered it like on day one, and I've been I used it for, like I said, a decade. And I'll say about 5 or 6 years ago, I stopped being as focused on it because I think the engine got better. But I still think it's a very valid thing to do.
Yeah, because for the like that's the example for like VOrder, which is VOrder is like the same tech as in import. Is before you basically there is an algorithm, and actually I don't like there is a dev who tried to explain. I had no idea who's talking about. So there is an algorithm that just like sample the data and decide what's the best way to sort it. So the sorting is done on your behalf. And most of the cases, it give you the optimal. And by the way, the optimal is an MP problem. Basically, it's unsolvable problem. Like you cannot know what's the optimal order of any data set, because the reality is you can have it, but if it spend 1 hour just deciding what's the optimal, then it's not really. So it give you like in the general case, it give you good performance, and that's why the VOrder is such a big deal. But having said that, because some people thought that VOrder is some proprietary stuff, you can simulate VOrder. Like if you use a writer that does not support VOrder, which is anything non-Microsoft, then you can simulate it just by running sort on some columns. And there are some simple rules like it's better to start sorting by the column where there isn't much different distinct values. So that's an example. There is another rule which say the total opposite. You say don't care if all your filter are on date, then just sort on date. So that depends, yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Now, Mim, I know we've been kind of like just talking about performance. You actually brought like a little demo and some code to show us. Do you want to frame that up?
Yes.
For us?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
frame it up, so to speak.
Yeah. So like I've been doing a lot of the like ETL and like all these TPC and stuff, but I feel that I feel like all the engine are getting so good, and I think basically it solved problem. I know it's controversial statement, but any engine can do ETL. That's not like when I say ETL, just read CSV and just generate Parquet. So for me now, like use Spark or use Polars or use Dataflow Gen 2 or Data Warehouse, or I don't really care. It's but I think what's interesting now is interactive queries. I think that part is still hard, because a lot of people saying, okay, do you know what? Just do direct query and on Data Warehouse, and the reality it's not true. Concurrency is still a problem. Like if you have, let's say, even 10 users, or it's just hammering the same report and trying to get performance like under sub-second, and like in a cheap way, like it doesn't cost you a fortune, it's still a problem. And I think this is where Vertipack like shines. So the demo is like usually all the benchmark you see, they are static.
Okay.
But this one is dynamic.
What do you mean by that? Can you show us?
Yes. So the first thing is I'll put the link, or the benchmark is totally automated. So you come to this link, you get this one benchmark.
Okay.
And the only input you do is you put the name of the workspace, because I want to show that you can generate data and semantic model in any workspace you want. Like it doesn't need to be in the same workspace. So you download this, which I did here. I'm using the pure Python thing just for personal preference. In Fabric Python, you can configure the number of cores. Initially, for the initial load, I put 16, but when you process incrementally, the 2-core is more than enough. And just to give in terms of consumption unit, 2-core is one CU. So as you can see here, you put the 16 just to get it faster, because the data here is 12 gigabytes compressed, which is 150 uncompressed CSV, and it's around like 1 billion. So it's okay. It's not, and actually I found that you can store data in GitHub. Like, we're not supposed to do that, but I'm storing all this data here. The other thing, it's slow. So you may get throttled, but it works. And not only that, actually, I added small program here action where every day it will load new file, which I think it's interesting. And don't ask me how it works. I just use Copilot in VS Code, but it's working actually. Daily, it will just load new file. So anyway, so we have the data there. I'm using DuckDB, and there is a rule like wherever you run, you need always to run the latest of DuckDB. It's nearly an act of faith. So if you have a query that doesn't work, you have two choices: either add RAM or just wait a couple of months and do upgrade, and it works. And it happened to me today. So, and then there is this small Python library which I built. It's rather AI built it. Sorry, self-promotion. So here you put the name of the workspace and the number of file you want to download. You may start with something smaller just to know, to test that it works. Here you don't need to touch anything. I'm putting here a folder with all the SQL statement and the Python. I show it in a bit. And here I have the Beam file from an existing semantic model. And the way it works is when you click, it will generate this data. So it's generating 3 semantic model, 1 direct lake mode and direct query and in dual mode. And it does create, so all this is automated, like there is no manual. And just to show it's really direct lake. One way to know direct lake is it connect directly to OneLake.
Oh.
Yeah, that's like a little trick, because the direct lake, there is like 2 mode. There is direct lake on SQL and there is direct lake on OneLake. I like to call it, that's not official, I just call it direct lake V2.
Like,
This is
here's a
just me, it's
secret we
not-
didn't know about. This is incredible.
But what you're
Yeah,
when you showed that lineage, the direct lake, is that direct lake on OneLake then?
yes. So here you can see it. Sorry, I'm in the wrong.
And then if you're doing direct lake on with the SQL endpoint, it still shows against the SQL one, right?
Yes, no, there is slightly difference. It's and actually difference is not even. I haven't seen any difference in performance, but there are some technical.
Yeah, I think
technical
on the,
implementation that
that the direct lake on OneLake is what now starts allowing us to get more of what the composite model, to where you can
Yes.
also do like an import and stuff like that.
Yes.
So yeah,
Yes.
I haven't started trying to change
Yes.
over to that, but that's very promising.
No, for me, I like it for nearly aesthetic reason,
Mm-hmm.
because it's a pure lake house
Yeah.
architectures. It's like the engine directly talking to lake house. For some reason, I find this beautiful. This is not technical, it's just the way I see it.
There's something yes, there's something attractive to, hey, look
Yes,
at where this
simplicity.
is going. Yeah, the simplicity.
Yes, it's like
yes.
simplicity. Yes.
Speaking of
yes.
that kind of thing, Mim, have you tried the Fabric view instead of the Power BI view?
Look, okay, I have some opinion.
Oh, okay. I opened a can of worms there. Sorry.
No, not that, not that. It's although like I like to test new stuff, but at the same time there is a part of me who is like extremely conservative. So because I'm used to this, I don't really see the necessity to go to the other views. And the other views basically for people, it's like mainly developer,
Mm.
and they weren't happy because they couldn't see all the tabs here.
hmm
So they wanted to see more.
I
But to
only
be
asked
totally honest,
because it's
yep.
easier to navigate back and forth between artifacts. That's the only reason why I brought it up.
Yes. No, probably I'll switch, but it will take me years. Like I'm very from the UI, I'm very slow for some reason. For me, the deal, to be honest, the deal we had with the designer is basically, if you give us this, we'll leave you alone. This is what like we had fight with this.
Mm,
Adding importing notebook. For me, that was the once I have this,
yep.
like I'm happy. I'm
You
but
don't
I
need,
go there.
you don't need anything else from the designers. You're like, okay, I'm good. I've got to import.
None. I thought I was very that because that's why I was extremely annoyed. But once they add this, I'm happy. And obviously the folder.
Yeah.
And now I think that we survive without folders. I don't know how we were living, but anyway, it's our history. So here
but
you
I'm
have
with
the
you.
import.
I'm with you, Christina. Give it a try because as I forced myself to use it more, I like it more.
I actually
button it
don't
up
know
more.
how
Okay,
I
good.
navigated Power BI without it. I'm a
Yeah,
huge fan. Yeah.
I switched immediately, and I get irritated every time I accidentally go back into the other experience.
hmm
Well, because I've been typing app.powerbi.com for so long
Mhm.
that's like muscle memory. When I need to go there, I just type that out, and it defaults to the old experience, and I really
App.fabric.com goes to the new one.
it's app.fabric.microsoft.com.
Oh, you're
Not
right. You're right. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
so
Yep.
it's like a longer. Still working on that muscle memory. So
All right, back to you, man.
Okay. Yep. So we have this library from like Semantic Lab, and it's awesome. So here, what it does, it will just it's just for convenience. It will download like a helper notebook, and because I've downloaded already, to say okay, it's already there. So, and here there is this new library. Okay, self promotion, and I think I love it. Like it give you a glimpse of how the future will be. It's literally, I just went to VS Code and say, I want the API to look like this. And then he just built a library, which is based on TP and Delta RS. And the beauty is, because like I have some strong opinion about how the API should look like. And usually developers, they have strong opinion how the API should look like. And like we never agree on anything. But here, I don't need anyone. I will just tell like Copilot, can you do it? And he did. So okay,
Nice.
it did, or whatever pronoun. So here, like you just put the workspace / lakehouse dot lakehouse, and here you put the schema. And to be honest, I took this because this is the same approach using by Iceberg. So if you want to connect to one lake, to a lake house from Iceberg, this is the format you use, except the schema I added here. And all it does, it will notice here, I'm not mounting anything. And actually the workspace is not, as you can see here, is TMP. So I'm not even connecting to a lake house in this workspace, but rather to an arbitrary lake house in a separate workspace. So this is like important, like you don't, by the way, this is another for long term. It makes sense to use the ABFS path than using mountain storage. It gives you more flexibility because the Python notebook is not tied to specific workspace. You can run it like anywhere. Like this one, I can run it from my laptop and it works just fine.
Nice.
So it did connect and it say, okay, because I ran already, there is 8 tables. And then here you just define your transformation. And this one, like I learned, don't put transformation in the same notebook. And why I have opinion about this is once I built like a notebook and I was proud of it, and I showed to someone, and he first reaction, and the guy, he was like extremely smart, like he write C and stuff. So, and he was confused, and he told like he didn't say it was too polite. He didn't say anything, but I can see from his reaction, he didn't have understood what I'm doing because I was mixing everything. So I learned something that just put like the code, the transformation separately from your notebook, just to make it easy. And there is another advantage is you can change the logic of your transformation in SQL without touching the notebook. So that's flexible. So for example, here, there is this Python function that just read the URL and then download files. And here I put v2 because I created new version and I didn't want to break the existing version. And you can do that. But if you put everything in the same, obviously here I go to extreme, so I know in v5, but later I will delete that. I try to keep backward compatibility. So here there is the file, and the way it works is it do orchestration, so it will knows that there is a Python notebook here. Sorry, a Python script. And all this is written by Copilot. And it will download the file. And then later, it will read a SQL statement, which is price here. And this is just SQL. By the way, for transformation, I think SQL is the king. That's the personal opinion. For manipulating files and stuff, Python is very flexible, but once you have something, then I think SQL make a lot of sense.
Sure.
So the format here, you just put the name of the SQL script, and then you tell it, do you want the result to be append or override? So here I'm appending the table price, appending SCADA. Here I'm downloading an Excel file, and tell it download it and save it in this workspace, which is not the same I'm using. And then here I'm saying get this table and do overwrite. And here I'm saying ignore. It means because the calendar does not change, so just run it once. But once it's there, then when you see it, just ignore it, just to save on compute. And this one is backfill, because I have like 3 operations. So the initial load, basically my data arrive every 5 minutes, but we get a backfill.
Hey, Mim, as a form of time check, we have 5 minutes left. Not just say that. I don't know if you want to like jump to a part in here to.
Yes. Yeah, probably I will just jump.
I did post the link to your GitHub repo, so people can go and find this.
Yes. So just another word, and yeah, just make sure to put the workspace you want where the data is generated. I think that's the main, and everything is automated. There is only one thing I couldn't automate, which is in the dual mode. But anyway, there is this part where it will show you your schema, and it will show you the size. So here it's 3 GB, and here it's 600, and it show you the average row group, and here it's 1.7. That's the best I could do using my Delta Rust. There is a bug opening, so but anyway, it's fine. And then you run the test here, and this one I copied from a tool created by Phil Seamark, who's his colleague, and so it's running the test. There is 16 concurrent user. Here I'm switching between direct query and direct query and dual mode. I can't do it in the same time, just to not to cheat, because otherwise it will be just running on the cache. And here is I put the results. So I've been doing it.
Talk about a name drop there. That's Phil C. Mark. He's a colleague.
Yeah. He's nice. He's good.
Oh, yeah.
No, because initially, like he's using Polars, so I like that he's using that library. Yes, so that's the result. And
Oh, wow.
yeah, so here what's it's telling you. So there's like 3 modes. So you have the direct lake, and here is
Mhm.
the geomean. Geomean is basically a fancy formula for mean. Apparently, it's more accurate and representative, but just assume it's the mean. But this one is the P90, and the P90 basically 90% of all the queries. So for the case of direct lake, 90% of all the queries are less than probably a second here, but the average it's 0. Maybe 1. So actually, just to see the exact number here. Yeah, so this is the exact number. So the average is 0.19 second, and the geomean is 9 millisecond.
Well, this is amazing. Can you go down to that? So, like, we
Yep.
can clearly see on that chart. And in this case, well, normally we'd want our good to be in the upper right hand side is
Yeah, that's
typically
the
good.
yes.
In this case, it's the lower left hand side because we want fastest,
Yes.
faster vetters, right? Where lower is
Yes.
better.
Yes. And here I just left this one an outlier.
Yeah, what
One
is that?
outlier.
No, it just happened like I had just one bad run, and the reason this is an outlier, so it's not representative, but I kept it just to say like this is real numbers. I'm not like making up stuff, but this is an outlier. It happened. It can be network but luckily just one, and you can see it. I ran this for maybe a week, and it happened only once. But here I can see
and I was kind of surprised you didn't get that on the direct lake part, right? Because if the model isn't loaded yet, it seems like the first time that you go do it, right? It's got to load up everything. So that didn't have as big of an outlier as the direct query did.
No, because that's good observation. The first initial load, it will take 7 seconds, but because of incremental framing, you get hit only once at the start. And the reality is which is interesting, like even when you do like an overwrite, because the way Power BI work, it keep something in memory and do something like processing something. Basically, it has like my understanding, like 2 copies. So the only hit I got, it just add the first initial, but I had to redo the test, so I didn't kept the first run ever. I did.
Mim,
Yeah. Yep.
This is just absolutely fantastic. Thank you for putting this together. I'm sorry we had to cut this short. I've got a hard stop. This is just amazing. So everyone, if you're watching, you should be following Mim over on LinkedIn and Twitter. He posts on a regular basis these types of insights. This is just fantastic. It also shows us like, hey, if you're not, or you should be using Direct Lake if you've got a properly formatted model. If you're managing your stuff right, you can get just as good performance as you can on, or better than your other modes right now. So now's the time to start doing that conversion over. So Mim, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mim.
I really appreciate it.
Everyone.
Hey, and thank you guys all for tuning in today. You guys are amazing. We're going to be back next Friday with Heidi Hastings. It's going to be on. We're going to be talking fabric security. Can't wait for that conversation. You have the best weekend ever. Peace.
Thank you. Bye.
Baker Tilly Digital combines strategic industry insight and advanced technical expertise to uncover and solve your digital transformation challenges. If you're interested in learning more, check out our website at bakertilly.com/digital.